Hello and welcome. We're at the NASSCOM Technology Leadership Forum 2023 right here in Mumbai, and with me here is Mr. Krishnan Ramanujam, the chairperson at NASSCOM from TCS. Hi Krishnan, thank you so much for speaking with ET Now.
Thank you for having me on the show, Anisha. Good morning.
It's going to be a busy day for you. I'm sure lots of meetings, etc. lined up. But I want to begin by asking you, what do you think is the outlook for 2023? Because it looks like it is going to be a tough year for the industry.
So while firstly 2022 can reasonably be described as a year in which nothing could be predicted. The way in which it started and the way in which it ended were two completely extreme opposites. So coming from that seesaw, if you will, I think we'll be glad for some level of predictability in 2023. While currently, of course, the outlook looks somewhat muted, but I would say in terms of the opportunities for growth and the potential it holds, I think 2023 is full of promise, and I'm sure you'll hear about it a lot during the course of the event.
Well, absolutely. Looking forward to hear that. But since you talked about predictability, you wanted to get a sense from you. You do the CEO survey at the start of the year. You speak with a lot of clients, etc. as well in your role at TCS. What's been the conversation like in terms of the budgets? Are there going to be huge cuts this year? Is it going to be a shift in terms of how they are spending their money on technology?
So what we are hearing mostly from the member firms, what we hear is the fact that there is a fair bit of caution out there, right? Typically the consumer-facing industries, which are easily susceptible to inflation, we see an extra dose of caution over there. And not that there are any problems as such today, but they do want to make sure that should a recession really hit, they want to be well prepared for it. So we see an abundant dose of caution. And we are not seeing too many project cancellations yet. But there is a fair bit of let's wait and watch. Let's maybe do this next quarter. We are hearing that a lot from many of the member companies.
Okay, so delayed decision making is the order of the day, at least, though there are no cancellations at the moment. But also wanted to lean in your experience in these cycles when there is high inflation and there is a bit of watchfulness with respect to spend. How much time does it take for the cycle to reverse as well? And in terms of the impact coming in for the India business, because for now, the deal pipeline looks okay. What's the time lag that we should expect for some sort of impact to come back home?
So again, before we get into how long will it take for it to recover, where in my opinion, your guess is as good as mine, given what we have seen in the previous year and the level of uncertainty we are seeing throughout the world. But it is important to keep in mind that we are coming off of a tremendous boom year, if you will, which of course was on the back of a severe contraction the year before because of COVID. So the last 2 years are probably not a very good way to gauge how the next year is going to be, or describe it as a muted year and so on and so forth, and compare it to 22. In many ways, it's an unfair comparison, right? So if you leave out the last 2 years and look at how the industry was and the economy was pre-COVID, I would say the coming year is likely to be among the better years by the standards of pre-COVID economies.
Okay, so better than the average, but what I infer from you, your comment is that perhaps it's not going to be a year of double-digit growth, but perhaps a single-digit growth for the industry. But, you know, Krishnan, in the last year or last couple of years, one of the challenges has also been on the supply side, not just demand side. Talent was a bit of a crunch, attrition was high. Do you see things settling in 2023 at the moment?
I would say from an attrition point of view, things are largely settled down. We don't see that attrition as a huge problem anymore. Not that it's come back to the pre-COVID levels, but it's getting there and getting there quite fast. In the next 2 or so quarters, we expect that to be well under control. But as regards the talent, right, that what is becoming increasingly important is talent of the right kind. The capability to leverage digital, architect the newer systems. How do you create business benefits out of digitalization? How do you create great enterprise capabilities by leveraging technology? Those require a higher order of skill and talent, and that is where the crunch is acutely felt today, not just in India. If anything, India is the relatively abundant source of talent. Everywhere else in the world, that's the biggest issue.
So I want to get a sense from you with respect to what's happening in the industry. You said that the talent pool is abundant, and that's having a tad bit of negative impact for the freshers at the moment, because there seems to be delay in onboarding for a lot of companies. There seems to be cancellations of the offer letters or reduction in their packages. Any comment on that?
It is true that we have seen quite a bit of those in the press lately. it is also true that the exuberance of the last couple of years, at least part of which ought to have been irrational. I think that's getting corrected right now. But like I said, 2023 holds a lot of promise measured by the pre-COVID standards. And while the onboarding may be delayed and so on, it should not be too long before companies start absorbing the freshers as well, is my take on it.
So for the freshers, would you still say that IT services and software provides a great career? Because the entry packages, the complaint coming in from the freshers whom I speak with is the fact that they remain stagnant, plus the issues of delays, etc. What's your advice to people who are starting out their career?
So firstly, I'll begin by saying that there is hardly a field that would be better placed than technology to be in a career today, right? Practically everything, the solution to every problem or the solution to capturing every opportunity today is technology. Right? So when you do that, it'll be foolhardy not to think of this as the career choice for most freshers. And secondly, in terms of opportunities, India is the best placed.
Yeah.
Right? Well, some of the factors that you talked about are true, and we will talk more about these. It is also very important to look at that in the context of all other industries as well, right? So, relatively speaking, I think it is probably still the number one choice, should be the number one choice for most freshers.
There's a tad bit of bias view coming in there, but yeah, I take that point completely. But Krishna, just wanted to wrap up by talking about the deal momentum that we are seeing on the ground. Apart from the fact that there is a bit of delay, is there any specific vertical that you want to call out? Apart from retail, is there, let's say, investment banking, mortgage, etc., which is also seeing pressure, insurance, etc.? And geography-wise, is Europe slowing down materially? Is that something which is concerning you at this point of time?
All the areas that you mentioned are indeed showing some weakness. We'll of course present the NASSCOM industry-wide data a little later in the day, Anisha. But yeah, all the areas that you mentioned in terms of retail, mortgages and insurance and so on from a banking and retail point of view, that's where we probably see a lot of those. And a little bit of manufacturing as well, we are beginning to see in terms of decision delays and so on. But otherwise, no major change in commentary since when we met last.
That's good to hear that there is no change in the commentary at least. But just lastly, wanted to get a sense from you with respect to what's happening to various geographies again. I want to point out specifically on Europe. Is there incremental worry there with respect to order cancellations now happening perhaps in the later part of the year if things continue the way they are?
So one thing I would say is that firstly, yes, Europe is probably where we are seeing the slowdown materially. And if anything, the fact that now the war is more or less accepted by everyone as probably going to persist for a while, those are being factored into the plans. So one hopes that as we do hope that the situation will return to normal and the war will see a quick end, one hopes that given all of these negative factors have been taken into account, we should start seeing some improvement in Europe going forward. But as of now, things are a little muted in Europe. Yeah.
And is there going to be any moderation when it comes to digital as well as cloud? Because that was the key driver for spends for IT companies last 2 years. Is there a moderation expected?
So here again, relative to 2022, probably you would say moderation is to be expected. But compared to the pre-COVID levels, I think it will be a fairly substantial growth. That's the balanced way in which to look at it. Yeah.
Okay, Krishnan, thank you so much for that candid chat. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Anisha. Nice talking to you.